We're continuing our tribute to the Humboldt Broncos today in the wake of that devastating bus accident on Friday. 15 of the 29 people on the bus died, including the players, head coach, assistant coach, the statistician, and a radio broadcaster.
New details continue to emerge as the events are pieced together. The most shocking, of course, was the news released yesterday that 2 of the victims were mixed up. The family of Xavier LaBelle was told that he did not survive when in fact he did, and the family of Parker Tobin believed he had survived the accident when in fact he did not.
And what a day of mixed emotions. One family rejoicing at a son now alive, the other receiving the horrifying news that theirs in fact was dead. Both families are requesting privacy as they grapple with this shocking development, and we need to keep them in our prayers.
Yeah, one thing we know, Greg, no matter how horrific the situation or how deep our grief and shock, God is present and working in the midst of the pain. Our reporter Greg Howes has been on the ground since Saturday, finding those stories and witnessing how faith is sustaining so many in this devastated town. He joins us now by phone.
Greg, you were on the ground 24 hours after this terrible accident. What's it been like to be in the midst of this grieving town?
Well, in walking around, I mean, my first experience there was kind of Sunday morning. So, outside of churches, meeting people, going into services. And there was definite sense of sadness, people trying to cope with the situation at hand, looking for answers, a sense of shock. But amidst that, also a feeling of community and standing together. Everyone was doing anything they could to help support those who needed it. People were hugging sidewalks. A real sense of rallying together. I mean, you get the sense that they're broken, but somehow their spirits remain strong despite it all. I know attending the memorial service Sunday night, it was strange. I mean, it felt like the whole province, the whole country was right there, right alongside them, supporting them. So there's such a feeling of empathy and love and compassion. It's just everywhere here.
That's one of the things that we've been so blessed to see across this country. You know, you had to do something really tough. You went to the parents' home of Coach Darcy Haugen, who of course passed away in that accident. You met his mother, father, sister. I've had to do that. It's a tough time to meet people for the first time and probably the most horrific moment of their life. What was it like to meet the family? Yeah, absolutely. Walking into that house, right off the bat, they were very welcoming. But there was a sense of shock. They're heartbroken. They're devastated. They're still searching for answers, trying to come to terms with losing their son, losing their brother. But in talking with them, despite all that heartache and pain, they were still able to share candidly and openly about the type of man Coach Darcy was and is. He was a man of faith, and he loved his family. And there was just such a strong commitment to explain that his love for Jesus, that he, as a man, he walked out his faith in everything he did. He was a role model to the community, to the boys, to the hockey players, to everyone he met in his life. And talking with the family, despite the pain, there was such an underlying sense of strength behind it all. So, I mean, they were coping as best they could.
And they're so proud of their son, Darcy, and seeing the dad, that was very emotional, and I know it's touched a lot of people across the country. So talking about what's gone on in our country, I mean, I don't remember anything quite like this, Greg. Not just in Canada, but around the world, funds are coming in. You were at a press conference yesterday. Tell us about this new program to help support the players, the families, and even the first responders.
Yeah, so we all know that there was a GoFundMe page that was set up shortly thereafter by a resident here. And last I checked, that was at $6.6 million. And as soon as you say a number, it quickly becomes outdated because people just keep giving. But it's gotten to a point where I think they've wanted to add some more structure to that process, a way for corporations and businesses so they can give. So the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League has partnered with the company Co-op, and they've launched a new player support program. So right now there's no
definite clear path and how the support will arrive to those who need it. They're still trying to sort all that out. But as I heard at the press conference, the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League president, Bill Chell, told us that under the new initiative, like anyone that needs help will get it, from billet families. Because I feel for these billet families, that the people that have housed these young boys, that everyone that's in that household, it feels like they've lost a brother or a son as well. So there's a wide range of people that need support and long-term support. I mean, they're planning for 10, 15, 20, 25 years down the road. This is something they want to do.
Greg, we just have a few seconds left, but I know that you've been impacted by another thing you saw in the community. Tell me about that.
I mean, obviously, anyone that loses someone, it's a horrible situation. I feel for the parents, but also, everywhere I go, I feel for the young people too. I mean, these young people hugging, comforting each other. Teenagers trying to cope with so much grief at such a young age. It's shocking, really. So I really feel for those people, and I just feel that there's such a need for prayer that Canada can come behind all these people that have been affected.
That's why we're here.
That's why we're here. Thank you, Greg. Good work on the ground. And again, it's a difficult situation. As you mentioned, keep praying. Well, Maggie spoke yesterday with Pastor Jordan Gadsby from Nipawin. That is the town the Humboldt Broncos were headed to.
On the line with me now is Pastor Jordan Gadsby of the Nipawin Apostolic Church. Of course, Nipawin is the town the Humboldt Broncos were on their way to when the bus was hit, killing 15 members on board. Thank you for joining us today, Pastor Jordan. How are you and your community doing?
There's a lot of tears around here. This is the kind of thing that you never plan for or would ever hope to have happen to anyone. But as a church, we do plan to care for people in every situation. So we were just here to care for people.
And on Friday night, that's exactly what you did. As parents were waiting to hear about their loved ones, you opened the doors of your church. Why did you do that?
We got a phone call from the Hawks game day coordinator and said, we don't know what to do with people. Can we send them to the church? We just said yes. Just a simple yes turned into something much bigger than we ever thought it would.
Many have been talking about Humboldt, rightfully so, and the pain that they've experienced, but I could only imagine the pain that Nipawin is also experiencing.
It's really difficult to compare what's happening in Nipawin to what's happening in Humboldt. A lot of the attention is there, and it should be there. But people across our country are hurting. There's players from many communities, and there's a really well-connected hockey community and fans and people that just can't even believe that an accident like this is possible or has happened. There's a lot of tears. There's a lot of people wondering why and how. And part of our role is we sit with them and we cry with them and we point them to Jesus. And we talk about how Jesus understands pain. He said himself that he was crushed with grief to the point of death. And he was honest with us about the fact that in this world we will experience trouble. But he's the one that brings peace. There's not a lot of answers or explanations that we can give in a situation like this. But what we need is the person of Jesus who comes to us and brings peace to our life.
Well said. As the nation was watching the vigil that happened on Sunday night in Humboldt, you also had a vigil in Nipawin. What was that like?
It's amazing that communities come together and support each other in something like this. We believe that we weren't created to do life alone. And while these things are so horrible to have to experience, it's a whole lot better that we experience it together. So our community coming together was amazing. We had hundreds of people in the church here. And we knew that it was going to be a difficult night. But there was an experience of peace here that we believe people felt and knew as well.
And how can Canada pray for you, your community, as well as I think of the Nipawin Hawks who were set to play the Humboldt Broncos? How can we pray for this community?
I think for all of us, there's a choice that we have to make. We decide to run from God or to run to God. Tragedy and suffering can cause us to get hard and angry, or it can cause us to get soft and turn to God and be filled with compassion and love for people. And that's what we need. We need to make the choice to run to God in the middle of our pain and suffering.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time again, Pastor Jordan Gadsby from the Nipawin Apostolic Church. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me.